internet surgiu em nossas vidas em meados dos anos 90. Hoje, nem sabemos mais como conseguíamos viver sem ela.
I don't think I've ever seen a company, not Apple, not eBay, not Cisco, that grew as fast as Google just skyrocketed.
Aprendemos a surfar, clicar, usar a web e o e-mail. A internet cresceu e se espalhou. E nasceu a necessidade de encontrar informações precisas como uma agulha em um palheiro. E então o Google foi lançado. Em poucos meses, a ferramenta de busca revolucionou a internet. A resposta para todas as nossas perguntas surgia na tela com grande velocidade e precisão.
I was out there in the early days when there were maybe 30 people sitting in offices, bringing their dogs, sleeping on the floor. Went back 6 months later, and now there's a couple hundred, and they've filled up the entire building they were in. Went out again a few months later, and they were in multiple buildings. And now you go out there, and there's this giant corporate headquarters and building after building, and they're this worldwide titan with thousands of employees.
A Google construiu sua matriz, a Googleplex, no coração do Vale do Silício.
To go from nothing, basically, two guys with an idea, sitting at Stanford, to a company with a market value $30–40 billion 5 years later. That's pretty impressive creation of wealth.
Com 1 bilhão de usuários em todo o mundo diariamente, a Google é tão fascinante quanto polêmica. Mas ela não seria poderosa e secreta em excesso? Não saberia muito sobre nossos dados pessoais? Seria confiável? Se não for controlada, acabará por nos controlar? E por que vemos essas luminárias estranhas por toda parte?
It's a particular object that many Googlers have on the desk, and if you wait a while, it blows up and it's like a volcano.
A Google abriu suas portas para nos mostrar seu mundo. Para nos lembrarmos de todos os detalhes, criamos um blog. Fábrica de Ideias. O que mais impressiona quando se entra em um escritório da Google é a idade dos empregados. Ter menos de 30 anos parece ser a regra.
Many people do associate it with Google because it was one of the first decorating items that was brought in the first official offices in Mount View. And after that, it just stick to Google. I think it's cool.
Nas escrivaninhas e nas telas, de Dublin a São Francisco, a decoração é a mesma. Todos aderem à moda Google, mostrando que pertencem à família. Um novo tipo de clube global.
But the problem is, it's getting too hot, and for me, it's like a waste of energy. It looks nice, but so I don't use it.
A Google logo deixou seu ninho no Vale do Silício para espalhar escritórios pelo mundo, levando suas luminárias, mesas de totó e bolas de pilates. Também exportou uma maneira idealista e diferente de organizar o espaço de trabalho. As raízes da organização ditam sua missão.
Google is the world's leading search engine, and our mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. I'm Marissa Meyer, and I'm Vice President of Search Products and User Experience. A lot of companies sort of suffer the misfortune that they have to rewrite their mission statements later to make them match what the company's doing. And this is actually the initial mission statement as written by Larry and Sergey of September 1998.
Os fundadores só conhecem duas coisas, a universidade e a Google.
When I met Larry and Sergey, I was at Stanford and I knew what computer science PhDs were like, and they rollerblade, they eat pizza for breakfast, they don't shower, and they don't have the manners for that when they bump into you, they would even say they're sorry. And Larry and Sergey had gone from being those kinds of people to being pretty polished businessmen that were able to express a vision for what they wanted to achieve in the world and what they wanted Google to achieve that I thought was really powerful and compelling.
Não seja mal. Organize a informação global e torne-a acessível a todos. Larry Page e Sergey Brin temperaram sua ascensão ao poder com ideias incrivelmente ousadas e ingênuas. Eles envelheceram e ficaram ricos, mas o espírito universitário permanece.
Here you can see around the world how people are using Google, and every one of those rising dots represents probably about 20, 30 searches or something like that. So you can see here we are in the US, and they're all coming up red. There we are in Monterey, hopefully I can get it right. You can see that Japan is busy at night, right there. We have Tokyo coming in Japanese. There's a lot of activity in China. There's a lot of activity in India. There's some in the Middle East, little pockets. And Europe, which is right now in the middle of the day, is going really strong with a whole wide variety of languages.
They're not very pragmatic guys, but they don't have to be. They've got a whole big corporation behind them with a lot of really smart guys that are pragmatic. And they can be the idealists. They can talk about, you know, the grand and glorious plans of putting all the world's knowledge on the web to make it available to everybody. It's nice to have them.
You know, part of what we want to do to grow our company is to have more searches. And what that means is we want to have more people who are healthy and educated, more animals if they start doing searches as well. Partly, we want to make the world a better place.
Google has done as good a job of maintaining the pre-IPO environment as any company I've seen. And one of the reasons was Eric Schmidt, the CEO. He's very conscious of what happens when a company like this gets older and when there's a lot of money flying around.
In order to win in the internet, you have to have a scaling strategy. You have to be able to be global. You have to have a product that works across many different sources of interest and information, and you have to execute very quickly. And scaling for Google means more data centers, more fiber optic networks, more cash flow, more people, more training, more product announcements, and things like that.
The genius of Eric Schmidt at Google was he caught on very early that he was not about search. He thought for a while that he was about information and the organization of information. That's still the standard Google line. True, but they've evolved much beyond that. Because what they realized at a certain point was this revenue model they had was brilliant and fundamentally new, which was you provide the service for free and you monetize the whole B2B exchange going on behind it. And it's done in tiny, tiny amounts that add up, you know, multiplied by billions. It's a brilliant model because to the user, your loyalty comes from the fact that they're giving you this wonderful experience for nothing.
O tema da Google é não seja mal. Toda a receita da empresa é gerada por resultados comprados, que aparecem à direita dos resultados naturais. Segundo uma pesquisa, somente 40% dos usuários diferenciam resultados comprados e naturais. Anunciar no Google é eficaz, mesmo não sendo evidente. Isso é mal? O fato é que compensa. 10 bilhões de dólares em vendas, 3 bilhões e meio em lucros e um valor de mercado de 165 bilhões de dólares. Sophie, de 27 anos, é instrutora da Google França. Ela treina anunciantes que queiram comprar palavras. Vamos conhecer Yann, um anunciante que compra essas palavras. Todas as palavras do idioma francês estão à venda. E o mesmo vale para o inglês, espanhol, chinês, italiano, russo, sueco, árabe.
Donc, ouais, je vais les former sur qu'est-ce qui est AdWords et comment ça fonctionne, quoi. Déjà, ce sera pas mal. Et puis, sur l'interface, savoir se débrouiller, être un petit peu autonome.
Quand j'ai démarré, en tout cas, moi, j'y croyais pas tellement. Enfin, j'avais pas cette vision-là à l'époque, c'était en 2003. Hein. C'était au tout début, le bureau de Paris venait de se créer et on n'avait pas cette vision-là. On se dit, ouais, ça a l'air sympa. J'étais comme aujourd'hui, les annonceurs qu'on essaie d'évangéliser. Sympa, bon, ça doit être un peu chiant comme métier quand même, d'écrire 95 lignes de texte, 95 caractères. Et c'est vrai que quand on a mis le pied dedans, et si par chance on s'est mis sur un secteur qui fonctionne mieux que les autres, c'est là on prend une claque. Là c'est vraiment, ça marche. Ça marche. Et ça marche très très bien et ça explique l'explosion qu'il y a eu derrière. En fait, on s'est retrouvé à proposer un modèle de publicité qui fonctionne. Quand quelqu'un cherche sur Google une information, si demain je vais chercher un billet d'avion sur Google ou un bijou, enfin si je vais taper billet d'avion dans Google, en général, c'est que je cherche une information, enfin dans plus de la moitié des cas commerciale. Et donc du coup, c'est excellent de faire de la publicité quand c'est pertinent et quand on a une réponse à un besoin. Pour un publicitaire, je crois qu'il n'y a rien de plus agréable de se dire qu'on ne crée pas un besoin, on répond à quelque chose qui existe et on donne la solution.
Et nous, notre travail, en fait, c'est de faire en sorte que le client remonte pour toutes ces requêtes que serait susceptible justement de rechercher les internautes.
Les mots qu'il va taper, c'est le premier boulot qu'on va faire. C'est d'abord aller réfléchir. Quelqu'un qui va acheter un clavier, qu'est-ce qu'il va taper dans un moteur de recherche? Et donc du coup là on a des outils, on a pas mal de choses, il y a des outils de suggestion. On va commencer par le plus bête, le clavier d'ordinateur.
Achat de clavier d'ordinateur.
Et après on va peut-être attaquer du matériel informatique, détaillant informatique, magasin informatique.
Les modèles aussi, des produits. Et ensuite, on va mettre en relation ces mots-clés à des annonces que vous allez voir apparaître sur Google, en fait.
C'est là que les liens commerciaux sont intéressants. J'ai que 8 liens commerciaux sur une page. Là où j'ai 10 résultats naturels qui sont tout mélangés. Et quand je fais une requête commerciale aujourd'hui, même moi en tant qu'internaute, parce que je connais bien le système maintenant, j'avoue que quand je fais une requête commerciale aujourd'hui dans un moteur de recherche, et notamment dans Google, je vais systématiquement aller regarder ce qui se passe en lien sponsorisé. Alors des fois ça me fait rire parce que je vois ce qu'ont fait mes petits collègues, mais quand je veux acheter aujourd'hui un voyage, un billet d'avion sur internet, je ne regarde que les liens sponsorisés parce que je sais que c'est là que je vais trouver les gros acteurs du marché, ceux qui sont prêts à dépenser de l'argent pour m'attirer vers eux, donc qui ont une offre qui est quand même potentiellement intéressante.
The search and ads is our core. And so we need to make sure that that core of our business and the core of our offering works really well, which is why we staff the majority of our engineers there. That's where a lot of our technological advancements come in. Then there's sort of an area of 20% of related projects, where there we can afford to be a little bit more speculative, and so we can afford to try something out and wait and iterate and make something better to make sure that it really fills the user needs well. And then there's sort of a 10% of the people that we actually allocate on very speculative things that are far-flung and have very little to do with search, but we think are interesting and promising.
Para sustentar essas inovações, bem como sua expansão global, a Google deu início a uma vasta campanha de recrutamento. A empresa tinha 39 empregados em 1998. Em 2007, eram 14 mil. A Google recebe quase 1 milhão de pedidos de emprego por ano para fazer parte de um dos clubes tecnológicos mais exclusivos do planeta. Se tornar um empregado da Google significa percorrer um trajeto de obstáculos que dura 8 meses e responder a perguntas como: como vender para 1 milhão de pessoas? Ou de quantas maneiras pode-se pintar um icosaedro com uma de 3 cores?
Basically, every smart kid coming out of college in the world right now wants to work at Google, just like they did in 1990 at Microsoft. And so they're getting job applications from everywhere. They're getting them from Europe, they're getting them from India, they're getting them from China, they're getting them from all over the United States. And they can pick and choose whoever they want.
I think that we had a vision for the types of people we wanted to hire, but that vision was really diverse, right? We wanted Google to reflect the world of people we hoped to serve, and so we wanted people who had really diverse interests. So from the very beginning, there were people here who were brain surgeons and chefs who had worked, all over the world for different types of people.
So Google is getting to pick, the creme de la creme of every new grad in the world.
Well, I applied for the job when one night during the summertime I was looking for, stuff on the internet, and I found this position on the web saying, looking for Italian people to work abroad. So I thought it could be interesting. I was at the end of my career due to my previous job, so I was in a quiet period of my life, and it was, I think, time to change. And just for fun, I applied, but I never thought I could have get it because.
And I applied for Google without the idea that they're gonna take me. Google sounds like so big and so huge. So when you're applying, you actually don't think that you're the person they will take.
La politique de départ, c'était que quand une équipe embauchait, tous les membres de l'équipe avaient leur mot à dire.
La plupart des gens font plusieurs interviews par semaine c'est régulier, doivent écrire des rapports détaillés, doivent noter les gens, certains doivent aller à des comités d'embauche qui ensuite comparent les gens, etc.